All right, I'd like to welcome you all here tonight, and we'll get started in just a few minutes. Before we start, I'll ask you to stand and join me in the pledge, and then Jeff Watson will bring the invocation.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let us pray. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for this beautiful day and this incredible weather we've been having. We thank you for all the blessings that you've given us here in our community, and we ask that you continue to bless us and continue to allow our community to prosper. We ask that you be with all those that continue to deal with health issues, continue to deal with the COVID virus. We ask for healing and for comfort for those dealing with sickness. Lord, please be with us tonight and guide us in our deliberations and give us wisdom in our decisions. And we pray to you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Jeff. All right. Call this regular meeting of the Springdale City Council to order. This is Tuesday, July 13th, 2021, and I'll ask our city clerk to call the roll.
Mayor Sprouse, Brian Powell.
Here.
Amelia Williams.
Here.
Jeff Watson.
Here.
Mike Overton. Mike Lawson.
Here.
Kevin Flores.
Here.
Randall Harriman.
Here.
Mark Fugerus.
Here.
Ernest Kate.
Here. All right, thank you. We do have large print agendas over here, I think. Colby or Wyman has them there. If that would be helpful to anyone, feel free to get one. I'm going to ask Victoria Hennessy, will you join me at the podium, please? Good. Well, I get the pleasure of doing this every once in a while, and we don't, this is not a regular thing we do. The Springdale Spirit Award is what I'm about to present to you. But when someone has exemplified the community spirit that you have through COVID-19 and through your business, you've been such a huge help to our residents, and we wanted to recognize that. You're actually nominated. I don't think it's a secret. Barbara Ludwig brought this, really planted the seed. Yes, you may. I'm not going to say no.
Get on better.
You can now if you want to. I don't have any pulls down here. I just wanted to say why I recognized Victoria was because she was the only pharmacy in Springdale that actually set out to do mass vaccinations. We did that at the First Methodist Church, and I worked for 2 months more. And I think we ended up close to 20,000 people in Springdale came and got their vaccinations. Now, that may not seem a lot to you, but that's a lot of people getting vaccinated. And I really want us to support her and to support all the people that get vaccinated and try to get people who are not vaccinated into the system, because that's the only way we're going to get rid of this virus. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. All right, and anyway, I'll just read this. The Springdale Spirit Award is presented to Victoria Hennessy in appreciation of your positive impact and service to our community, selflessly vaccinating and educating the citizens of Springdale during the coronavirus pandemic. Victoria, with that, I'd like to also present you with this little gift that we do. That's a local artisan blows that glass. We're on my net, and we don't give many of those out. So we're pleased to give one to you, and you're welcome to say anything you'd like to say.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for having me here today. This is beautiful. I feel a little bit selfish up here by myself receiving this award because this was a community effort and still is. Like Barbara said, we're still working every day to get more and more people vaccinated to protect them from this disease. A lot of people help with this collaboration. So many people, I could not name everyone, but you know, I like to joke and say I just brought the vaccine, and And it was through the work of the community. A few of you here tonight have been to a few of my clinics, and my staff worked tirelessly early mornings and late nights when this vaccine first came out. And there is absolutely no way I was able to do this within our pharmacy walls. We had to go outside the walls of the pharmacy and get this out into the community. So through the efforts of many different groups, UAMS College of Pharmacy and UAMS outreach team, the U of A College of Nursing, the First Church, Springdale, administration and volunteers through the church, the city of Springdale and the fire department and their paramedics. And one large group that I feel like definitely needs a significant amount of notice is the nurses crushing COVID, the nurses who stepped up, came out of retirement, much like Barbara, Miss Barbara, to help with this effort. They didn't have to put themselves in harm's way to make sure that our vaccination got into the arms of our community. So this was and very much is a community collaborative effort, and I'm so proud of this community. I'm proud to be a business owner in this community, and I know that God forbid we ever have to go through this again, that we have the support of the community behind us to get through it. So thank you so much for having me today. I'm honored to receive this award.
Alert, the Adams family. All right. Thank you all for being here. Item 5, a public hearing, and I'm going to turn that over to our city attorney, Ernest Cate.
Thank you, Mayor. Item number 15 on the agenda is an ordinance releasing, vacating, and abandoning a portion of a drainage easement on property located subdivision. As you know, the statute requires a public hearing to be held before the ordinance can be acted on. So is there anyone here that wishes to speak on this matter? Not, I'll close the public hearing and we'll take up the item on item number 15.
Thank you. We're at item 6. This is the portion of each meeting the council sets aside to hear comments from our residents. If we have citizens that would like to address the council, we ask that you go to the microphone, clearly state your name and address, and please keep your comments brief, understanding that the council will not take action tonight on anything you bring forward. Is there anyone who would like to address the council concerning an item that's not already on tonight's agenda? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to item 7, approval of minutes. If there are no changes or additions, I'd entertain a motion to approve them as presented.
I moved.
Okay. Did we get a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Thank you. Procedural motions, item 8. What's your pleasure, council?
For A and B.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for both A and B. Denise?
Watson,
Yes.
Overton,
Yes.
Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Flores,
Ma'am.
Hunt,
Yes.
Fujirus, Powell,
Yes.
Yes.
Carries 8-0.
Item 9 is an appeal from the Planning Commission decision, and I don't know if Ernest or Patsy need to speak to that. We have not officially removed it from the agenda. And I had gotten some information that the owner of the property was pulling that. Patsy?
Okay, and then I've had conversations with the property owners.
Okay.
See what they have to say. Do you have anything that you want to say?
I'll translate for her.
Buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes.
Gracias a todos.
She said thank you to everybody.
He estado luchando
She has been battling
3 meses
3 months
para poder haber abierto este local
to be able to open up this location.
para iglesia.
Ma'am, when you translate, could you get into the microphone also, please, so folks watching at home could hear your translation? Thank you.
Oh, that.
¿Quiere que te-
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Tú y luego yo voy a hablar.
Ok. Y he estado luchando, hemos hecho todo lo que se nos pidió.
She said that we have been battling for everything that they have asked for from us.
Se nos había pedido para poder utilizar ese local, que pueda ser aprobado por los bomberos, que pase la inspección, y se nos pedía que tuviera 2 baños, y como no tenía 2 baños, nosotros construimos un baño para poder utilizar el local.
She said there has been that moment that we went through to be able to bring everything for this location, to be brought up to code with the farm marshal and just everything inside the location. We have been going through all this.
Y fue aprobado por los bomberos, fue aprobado por la inspección, y solamente teníamos que esperar la respuesta de la ciudad. La hemos traído aquí.
It has been approved by the farm marshals and by everybody that the location was suitable, and
Lo hemos traído a la ciudad y se nos dijo que el problema era el parqueo. Entonces luchamos por el parqueo, hablamos con las personas del área del parqueo, conseguimos el parqueo que necesitábamos, pero...
we did everything, but now it came down to the city with the parking issue, and then we went about our way to go ahead and try to make sure we were going to be okay with all the parking for the location there.
Y hoy me he enterado que el dueño que nos había dado el contrato rompió el contrato porque el parqueo se nos había aprobado por 1 año, el del banco.
And today she came aware that the owner has said that he was going to have to break the contract with us due to the fact that the parking for the bank was only going to be for 1 year.
Y creo que requerían los 3 años que teníamos ya firmados de contrato.
And they wanted us, and the city wants us to have 3 years with the contract for the parking as with the location that we would be renting.
Por primera vez en una obra misionera que he realizado, he perdido económicamente dinero, trabajo y tiempo. Nosotros estuvimos trabajando por ese proyecto desde abril hasta hoy.
She said for first time that she's been a missionary that she has lost, and we put so much money into this location, and she had put so much into this location, and we are not going to be able to be there for that reason of the parking. Pretty much.
Hemos pagado 3 meses de renta, abril, mayo, junio, para poder preparar el local para que la ciudad lo aprobara.
We have been in this situation since as of April until this month, and ¿y qué más?
Porque hicimos todo para que fuese aprobado.
And she says that we did all of this for these many months until now for it to be approved.
No es mi primera vez trabajando en diferentes estados de Estados Unidos en las obras y en las misiones. He venido de Houston, Texas, trabajé 4 años en una obra allí. He venido de Florida, de Massachusetts, de Maryland, pero es la primera vez que tenemos un problema para poder trabajar, conseguir un local y trabajar una iglesia.
She said that she has been through so many missions and with churches, and this is the first time that she's had to go through all of this, and it's cost for us to be where we're at now.
Pero con todo esto le doy gracias
She said with all of this, she gives thanks,
y seguiré luchando por lo que queremos hacer por esta ciudad.
and we're gonna keep on battling, fighting the fight so that we can accomplish in the community.
Gracias.
And she says thank you.
Thank you.
I did have the discussion with the property owner after the last meeting, as you asked me to do. I don't think he realized, this is a new owner. This is not the owner that signed the original lease with the church. And with the empty spaces that he has now and the commitment they were making to the number of spaces, he didn't feel like he could move forward with it because he's got some empty spaces. And the agreement with the church was only for 1 year, and that created a concern for him too. So he sent me a note today that they have decided not to continue this tenancy at this address, and the church will be removing their belongings and will look for a more suitable site for their church. And I would recommend that when you see a new site, before you spend a lot of money, come see me and we'll make sure you can meet all the parking requirements before you get so far in. Okay? Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Hey, Patsy, when we do conditional use, who is the appropriate petitioner, the property owner or the business owner?
Property owner.
The property owner.
So it would have been the landlord that should have been petitioning for the.
Well, I
conditional
think it
use, right?
started with the previous owner.
Did he,
and then it
was the
sold.
previous owner the petitioner?
No, the conditional use is granted to this church at that location, but the property owner has to sign off on it that he's agreeable to that. But when we ask him to make the commitment for the parking spaces to be assigned, the property owner has to make that commitment, because what he's saying is, I won't put something else in there that would compete for those parking spaces. And that was the discussion we had with him to make sure he understood, because they needed 42 spaces and there's only 52 on the site. That's the first time we've had one that would be such a large number of the parking spaces.
And also the first time where you've had a sale during the process of asking for the variance.
It may have happened before, but that's the first time I was
First
made
time
aware of it.
we've
Yeah,
seen one.
right. That's correct. Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? Move on. All right, item 10 is Ordinance Committee, Chairman Mike Overton. Mike?
Yes, Mayor, we have one item to come before the ordinance committee, and it was passed to the council for a recommendation for approval. It's an ordinance to approve the action of Natural State Rock and Republic located at 500 North Main Street, Springdale, Arkansas, and filing an application for operation as a private club permitted from the Arkansas Alcohol Beverage and Control Division of the Arkansas Department of Finance and Administration to comply with Arkansas Code annotated 3-9-222A1 and to declare an emergency.
Move the ordinance be adopted.
Second.
Motion and a second for the ordinance to be approved. Any other questions or comments? Anyone? Okay, Denise?
Overton,
Yes.
Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Flores,
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes.
Howe,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
Emergency clause.
Move the emergency clause be adopted.
Second.
Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Flores,
Yes, ma'am.
Harriman,
Yes.
Fugierus,
Yes.
Howe,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
Overton,
Yes. Felt the ordinance emergency clause carry 8-0.
All right, thank you. Item 11, the Finance Committee report and recommendations. Chairman Jeff Watson. Jeff.
Finance Committee has forwarded 4 resolutions to the council. All 4 of them have been recommended for approval. The first item has, that's 11A, has to do with accepting funds from the Area Agency of Aging of Northwest Arkansas. The title to that resolution is a resolution accepting the transfer of funds and clarifying the restrictions on the expenditure of those funds.
Move the resolution pass.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further comments or questions? Anyone? Okay, Denise?
Flores,
Yes, ma'am.
Harriman,
Yes, ma'am.
Fugierus.
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
Overton.
Yes.
Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Carries 8-0.
The second item has to do with the lease program for vehicles for the Public Works Department. The title to this resolution is a resolution authorizing Public Works to order vehicles.
Move the resolution pass.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further comments or questions? Anyone? Okay, Denise?
Harriman,
Yes.
Fugierus.
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
Overton,
Yes.
Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Flores,
Yes, ma'am.
Carries 8-0.
Okay, and the third item, if I can get there, 11C. Third item has to do with contract for the 2021 street overlay program. Again, this resolution was forwarded with recommendation for approval. The title to this resolution is a resolution authorizing the execution of a contract for the 2021 street overlay.
I move the resolution pass.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the resolution. Any further comments or questions? Anyone? Okay, Denise?
Fugierus,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
Overton,
Yes.
Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Flores,
Yes, ma'am.
Harriman,
Yes, ma'am.
Carries 8-0.
The final resolution has to do with the execution, authorizing the execution of the contract for construction of 40th Street. That's on the very northern end of 40th Street. The title of the resolution is a resolution authorizing the execution of a construction contract for 40th Street 18BPS4.
Is that widening that at all, or is it going to be about the same?
Yeah, it's, I think it's 3-lane,
3-lane.
curb and gutter, sidewalk on the east side, trail, 12-foot trail on the west side.
Move the resolution pass.
Second.
Further comments or questions? Anyone? Okay, Denise?
Powell,
Yes.
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
Overton,
Yes.
Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Flores,
Yes, ma'am.
Harriman,
Yes, ma'am.
Fugierus.
Yes.
Carries 8-0.
All right, thank you. Item 12, Parks and Recreation Committee, Chairman Mike Lawson with the committee's recommendations.
Thank you, Mayor. We had one item when we met last week. It was moved forward with no recommendation. It was the restoration of Rabbit's Foot Lodge. We moved it forward to allow council members an opportunity to go see it. The resolution reads, a resolution authorizing Phase 2 of the restoration of Rabbit's Foot Lodge.
And I'll remind everybody, this basically allows us to engage the architect to come back to us with a not to exceed, to actually get bids and come back to us with a not to exceed price. So you'll have another opportunity if you have questions or comments about some of the line items. I know, Brian, I talked with you Friday, and you had questions about the general conditions. I think Mike asked that also so we'll get a good list. I got a few things that were included in that. but I don't think it's the whole list. But things like, your miscellaneous things, the porta potties, the fencing, that kind of thing, but also the salaries of the project manager and any other that Pickett Construction has would be in those general conditions as well. And there are some other things in that list. We're a little foggy on the insurance and the, there was another item that Gary had mentioned, but they're listed elsewhere, so we want to clean all that up and make sure that those estimates are accurate. But I think if there's a double line item in there twice, in general conditions and in insurance, then it would just make it lower. So if y'all will approve this for us to go out and get bids, and then we'll bring a contract back to you when it's finished. I hope you've had an opportunity to go out and look at it. They've done a great job so far.
I did go look at it, and it looks really good. What's the logs? Are they going to be that color, or will they?
No, and I wish I'd have mentioned this last Monday.
Samples on the side of the.
Yeah, if you ever go back out there, on the north side, the outside of the garage, attached to the garage are some sample logs, and they show where it's been acid washed and a couple of different colors of stain.
So they just haven't been stained yet?
Hadn't been stained yet. They'll wait. That's part of the phase 2 cost, is to stain it. That way.
And the shutters are part of the painting?
Yep.
Look, it looks really good, yeah. It's so beautiful in there.
Ernest, can you tell us specifically what the contract states that is our responsibility for maintaining the building?
It basically says will be maintained in good order, good repair. I think that's as specific as it gets.
Of course, we've got that same obligation now with the historic preservation easement that's been placed on the structure itself as well. So
Now, the historic preservation easement, I understood it was a one-time cost, but explain to us now, they tell us what we can or can't do with the building? Is that what the historic easement means?
it means that you have to stay within the parameters because of the historical nature of the building. It
Means, okay, they tell us what we got to do with
there are
it.
certain parameters within which we have to operate, yes.
That's right.
But, okay, it says good repair, so it doesn't state we have to maintain it. The big question I've received from numerous people was I think they misunderstood. We don't have to maintain it to the standards of the previous owner, is that correct? Does it state in the contract we have to maintain it to the previous owner's standard?
It doesn't state it that way, no.
We have to maintain it to the standards of the Arkansas Historic Preservation Society.
Oh, well, okay, but that's important because a lot of folks are under that impression that's why we spent a whole lot of money and spent a whole lot more.
I'll tell you, when the outsides are done, and if we approve phase 2 and after it's done, the outsides of that building will be probably better than they've been in years and years.
Yeah, I understand. But that's the big question that a lot of folks were asking, so that clarifies it for me. But we do have to, because of the conservation easement, they set the parameters of what we can and cannot do with the building. It's like having a structure on the historic register.
Which this
where
is.
you cannot make changes in order to keep it on the register.
Right, but just to be clear, the historic preservation easements for the lodge itself, the conservation easement, which you recently passed, has to do with the acreage.
Right.
Different, but I know what you mean, but two things aren't exactly the same, but yes, the principle's the same, yes.
Okay, so it's with the conservation easement really has to do with the land, meaning it has to stay in basically the state it's in now.
That's where we worked with the entity that's doing that, the land trust, we got with our Parks Department and tried to figure out every possible thing we would want to do with that property, if we need to add something, so that it would be written in there, so that we can do that. Also, your
Spring.
question about the spring,
Yeah.
that was part of that too.
So that has us covered there, but right now, there's not an emergency to do additional work, correct?
I wouldn't call it an emergency.
Is it,
I was just gonna say, that they're just finishing up phase one, and I would think that a lot of the same trades, there's not a lot of people that do logs.
sure, yeah.
A lot of those same trades, I'm hopeful we might get better pricing if we follow up pretty quickly on this.
Because that raised my question. I was curious if this was something that might be possible to address at budget time or not. If it wasn't an emergency, I was just asking.
I guess that's possible. I think we just out on 6 months of good weather.
I understand.
I think.
Well,
the money's
budget time, we would,
gonna be coming from the same place anyway. It's gonna be coming from our, well, it will be coming from our unrestricted reserves unless Colby, I know that we've got the old CIP that Laura would like for us to spend down with capital projects.
Yeah, there's about 1.8 million in that account, and we need to spend that on special projects as much as we can.
we don't have to spend it on that. We could just go ahead and merge it into the general fund period if we wanted to.
Well,
But she's saying that for her, it'd be accounting wise for her, it'd be easier, is what you're saying.
No, because that money, before we merged the new budgeting, that money was allocated specifically to go into a CIP account. And
Which-
it was designated, so we can't pull that 1.8 million out.
But the council designated that, so the council could change that, because it's just a matter, it's the same funds.
You could
period.
undesignate it.
Yeah, because all we did was say, yeah, this is what we're gonna put in, and we had a separate meeting, but it's all city funds, all taxpayers' funds, so it could just be merged anytime
Yeah,
in the general fund.
just like the other
So it doesn't
authority
have to
allocated,
be
yeah.
spent on construction, at least when we're looking at it, when it's all together, we're seeing one number. So that's easier to understand.
Will this phase two, will this finish the outside?
Check all the outsides.
Is there phase three or no?
No,
So
well,
this is-
the only other thing would be the interior,
Right.
any improvements to the interior, but I don't think we ought to
That's-
entertain that at all until we have a tenant.
That should be on a tenant's nickel,
But we,
if there's anything
but this
done
will
to the
finish the
interior.
outside and make it where it's,
Right, it'll be,
Sound.
it's already got a new roof, new soffit, the logs have been replaced, so, but this.
Foundation logs have, yeah.
Yeah, and this would take the, basically, it would, just to look at it, we're talking basically about that huge wraparound porch and all the
Pillars.
support for that, all the pillars and all that, and then all the painting. And there'll be some repair, obviously, in the painting. Jeff mentioned the shutters. Well, some of those have to be repaired, too. And that will be in that.
garage?
The garage, there's probably not much more to do to that.
Their doors?
There never was a garage door. It's
And there
more
won't
of
be?
more of a carport, yeah. Mhm. But they did do the logs in the garage, acid wash those.
Move resolution forward.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the resolution. Any other comments or questions? Anyone?
Williams, Watson,
Yes.
Overton,
Reluctant, yes.
That hurt, didn't it?
It
I could
did.
tell.
Even though I
Lawson,
couldn't get it put to the next budget meeting.
Yes, ma'am.
Flores,
Yes, ma'am.
Harriman.
yes.
Fugierus,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Carries 8-0.
All right, thank you. Item 13 is Police and Fire Committee. Brian, do you want to take that?
Mike, I think Mike Lawson, Councilman Lawson took that during committee, if he would mind taking that now.
Yes, I'll take it. We had one item before us in Fire and Police, and it was a resolution authorizing the police chief to order. Basically follows, I think, in the suit what Public Works is having to do. They will be in our budget, budget time, but to get the vehicles for next year, we're having to get on the list right now just because of the shortage. Chief wants to allude to anything else, I think that's the basics of it.
You covered it.
Read it.
Yes, sir, that's the basics, but if you have any questions.
I did read it.
I'll move the resolution pass.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the resolution. Are there any other questions or comments from anyone? Okay, Denise?
Watson,
Yes.
Overton,
Yes.
Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Flores,
Yes, ma'am.
Harriman,
Yes.
Fugierus.
Yes.
Powell.
Yes.
Yes.
Carries 8-0.
All right, thank you. Planning Commission report and recommendations. Patsy Christie, Director of Planning. We moved a couple up, I guess, Patsy, from, instead of holding them to the second meeting, is that,
We usually do plats
oh, do we? Okay.
right after. If it's a final plat or a replat, it usually comes the
Okay.
week after. The first one is an ordinance accepting a new addition to the city of Springdale, Arkansas to be known as Sundance, a subdivision to the city of Springdale, Arkansas, declaring an emergency. Planning Commission reviewed this subdivision plat and recommends approval. And that's what it looks like. I can go back or, I've got the right controller this time. Location off of Julio Road. And I did read the title of the ordinance.
Ordinance be adopted.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the ordinance. Any other questions or comments? All right, Denise?
Overton,
Yes.
Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Flores,
Yes, ma'am.
Harriman,
Yes.
Fugierus.
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
That's emergency clause.
Move the emergency clause be adopted.
Second.
Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Flores,
Yes, ma'am.
Harriman,
Yes.
Fugierus.
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
Overton.
Yes. Both the ordinance emergency clause carry 8-0.
And as usual, they have emergency clauses because I think these developers like to move forward with selling lots probably
Before
quickly.
lumber goes up.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably too late for that one, but anyway, yeah. This next item is kind of a unique situation. This is a final plat that we accepted after this area was brought into the city from Bethel Heights. It is on a step system, and the type of equipment that the developer wants to use is not the type of equipment that the city of the Springdale Water Department has authorized to use. So what we are doing is adding a note to this plat that says ownership, operation, and maintenance of the septic tank, effluent pumping, step system tank, pump controls, excuse me, and plumbing to and from the tank to the service line shut-off valve shall be the responsibility of the property owner. The city shall have the right of ingress and egress to allow the inspection and emergency repair or maintenance of such systems at the property owner's expense, if in the opinion of the city is necessary to protect the public health and environment. And basically what we're trying to do is let everybody who buys a lot in this or a house in this know that that pump is their responsibility, not part of the wastewater treatment system itself.
Will the wastewater treatment be picking up the effluent, or will that be the responsibility of the property owners to take it to the Springdale facility?
No, I think it gets into that system that went into Bethel Heights, which now the city of Springdale picks up and goes to the treatment plant.
Well,
It's just that each one of those lots has to have a pump and a tank in as part of it.
So,
Still getting it
so the water and sewer department will pick it up and take it to their facility.
Well, it gets pumped into the pipes there. It's not a matter of picking it up and taking it. It's
But
just
they-
that pump goes out.
Oh, it's a central holding facility that then gets pumped into the Springdale.
Right.
And this is their language that they've asked to be.
Right, this is their language, and
But the
so,
individual property owners are responsible for their own
Right.
pumps and maintaining them, et cetera, and any breakdowns, so.
and it,
before
as I understand it, if it was the equipment that they had specified, there would not be this charge. I mean, this note wouldn't be necessary, but the developer wants to use these because
Other
they are
equipment.
locally sourced or made in the US and they can get them faster. I don't know, there's a lot of reasons for that. But this is at the recommendation of the Water and Sewer Commission. And basically what we're doing is making sure each property owner knows. Now, there's still no guarantee that they're gonna know, but it is on the plat itself, and that's what the revision to the plat will be.
Big thing is Springdale Water Department's not responsible for it,
Right.
period.
So the title
So-
of the ordinance reads, an ordinance accepting the revised plat of Spring Meadows subdivision to the city of Springdale, Arkansas, and declaring an emergency.
So was the original plat accepted by Bethel Heights?
No, it was, the preliminary plat was approved, the construction was going on. It got down to the point where it was to be finished, and it was ready to come into the city of Springdale after the consolidation happened. So the final plat had to come to the city of Springdale for final approval. We went through to see what all was the conditions for it, and it met everything that Bethel Heights had required to get it approved. It's just that this is that one element that was not part of what Bethel Heights had insisted.
This question makes me think, could they have even built this if we hadn't consolidated with Bethel Heights?
Well, I would assume
Weren't
they would have just moved forward with it and it would have been pumped into the same
If
system
it
that
had
wasn't
already-
working well.
They were only able, if it had already been approved, then
We'd
they
bought
could do it, but there was a moratorium on any new.
Yes, I think it was one of the last ones that was approved for them to move forward with. Yes, I'm sorry. I think that's the case, yes.
And was there ever any discussion about the name Spring Meadows being confusing with the senior community?
Well, that question came to me and I addressed it earlier. The name of the subdivision is really only part of the land records itself. You know, it is a lot in Spring Meadow subdivision. None of the street names have any conflict. We have lots of subdivisions that have very similar names. You can get phase 1, 2, 3, and 4. There's never been a confusion as far as that's concerned. But because there were no street names that had any conflicts, we didn't have to change any of that.
Does Spring Meadows Senior Community, whatever, is it?
It's a large-scale development plan that you don't buy lots in there. It belongs
that's what I was
to one
wondering.
entity, right? Yeah.
So it's not really a platted subdivision?
No, it's not a platted subdivision. It has a single owner, and there's no conflict as far as our ordinances or anything that we recognize with the two things having the same name.
I move the ordinance pass.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the ordinance. Any other questions or comments? Okay, Denise?
Flores,
Yes, ma'am.
Harriman,
Yes, ma'am.
Fugierus,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
yes,
Watson,
Yes.
Overton,
Yes.
Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Move we adopt the emergency clause.
Second.
Harriman,
Yes.
Fugierus,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
yes,
Watson,
Yes.
Overton,
Yes.
Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Flores,
Yes, ma'am.
Both the ordinance emergency clause carry 8-0.
All right, thank you. The next two items, I'll turn over to Ernest.
Thank you. Next item is an ordinance releasing, vacating, and abandoning a portion of a drainage easement located on property in Springdale, Benton County, Arkansas, to declare an emergency for other purposes. This is Lot 73, Thornberry subdivision, Phase 5, located at 3533 Sagely Lane.
Didn't we just do the public hearing on this at the beginning?
Yes.
So we can go ahead and,
Yes.
I move the ordinance be adopted.
Second.
Motion and a second. Has anyone decided they need to speak to this? All right, Denise?
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Williams,
yes,
Watson,
Yes.
Overton,
Yes.
Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Flores,
Yes, ma'am.
Harriman,
Yes. Move the emergency clause pass.
Second.
Yes.
Powell, Williams,
yes,
Watson,
Yes.
Overton,
Yes.
Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Flores,
Yes, ma'am.
Harriman,
Yes.
Fugierus.
Yes.
Both the ordinance emergency clause carry 8-0. The last item is an ordinance authorizing the city clerk to file a cleanup lien for the removal of overgrown brush and debris on property located within the city of Springdale, Arkansas, declaring an emergency. This is on property located at 704 Geneva.
Forward.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the ordinance. Any other questions or comments? Does anyone need to speak to this property? Okay, Denise?
Watson,
Yes.
Overton.
Yes.
Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Flores,
Yes, ma'am.
Harriman.
Yes.
Fugierus.
Yes.
Powell.
Yes.
Move the emergency clause be adopted.
Watson,
Yes.
Overton, Lawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Flores,
Yes, ma'am.
Harriman.
Yes.
Fugierus.
Yes.
Powell.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Both the ordinance emergency clause carry 8-0.
All right, thank you. Item 17, any comments from council?
Got a comment, Mayor. Chief Peters, Chief Irwin, over the past 7 months, I've received about 5 emails or calls about speeding and what we can do to alleviate some of these situations. And the number one issue that people ask for is speed bumps. So I just want a little bit of clarity, I guess, for all of us to have a general understanding of how we approach that. I know it's the firefighter or the fire department doesn't look favorably upon those for a reason, and I just kind of want, I agree with it. I just kind of want a reason why, so we can let the public know.
Help us address that. Just give us your concerns about it.
First off, I know there's several things that they have to do through the traffic committee, that they look at studies as far as number of vehicles and all that stuff, the speeds and all that, so there are several steps that they have to go through. We've typically always opposed speed bumps simply because it slows us down if we need to get into that area. We have changed that path just a little bit, and we typically look at every single one that they come and ask for. And if we don't have a real problem with where they're locating it, a lot of times we won't object to that. But since Brad's got here, he's actually come up with an idea of some of the speed bumps that they now design that allow our trucks to go through there that don't hit the speed bump themselves.
They've got brakes in
They're
them.
measured, yeah.
Yeah.
So that makes it much better for us, and that's why we've kind of loosened the reins a little bit.
What about the damage to the vehicles? Do you guys experience much from that, from the speed bumps, even the newer ones?
From our perspective,
Yeah.
or from individuals? From ours, not much. I mean, there can be. It just slows us down.
Really
Obviously,
don't have any, do we, on public streets right now?
Never
yes.
approved one yet.
Yeah, we do.
Well, like Powell has the big table speed bump over there.
Yeah,
by the
Pal's
trail.
got one. We've got one right here on Emma.
Oh,
We've got a couple of them on
those
Emma.
speed
but-
tables, I'm thinking
Yeah.
of the speed
Well,
bump.
yeah, and I guess I should
Tables are
clarify.
much,
Yes, they are. They are. But again, it's just dependent on where they're located as far as whether they're going to impede us or not.
But like the mayor was saying, the typical speed bumps that we think of, we don't have those
No,
in large
we
part of the
do
city.
not.
Okay.
I can tell you from our perspective that we attend all those traffic committee meetings, and there's always been such opposition that I've never really put a lot of research into it. I've always thought that, you know, if it comes down to it, we could research it, and I think there might be some validity in some cases, but obviously you'd have to be pretty particular where you put those.
so Kevin, did everybody that had reached out to you, had they gone through the traffic committee, or
No,
maybe they
typi-
just need to know that process?
They just need to know the process for one, but typically what I've been doing is reaching out for additional patrols with Chief Peters, which they've done a great job. We figured out a way to get the right people involved, and I don't hear much back at that point. So it either alleviates it or they just don't follow back up.
Thank you. Do you have something to add, Brad?
Yes, since everybody's kind of outlook has changed, the traffic committee has recommended 2 locations for these new speed tables. They're expensive and they haven't been budgeted, so that's come up this year, so we'll be putting that in the 2000.
These are the ones with brakes in them, where
Yes.
the
Yeah,
wheels of the fire trucks would go?
yeah.
Okay.
Where are those
Okay.
locations at?
So
They'll be
these
in next year's budget, this year's budget.
are a pre-made like the rubbery, okay, that are installed. Gotcha. Okay.
Yes, they're pre-made. We currently have two recommended locations. One of them is Buckhead between Old Missouri and Powell Street. And then the other one is Deering Road between 64th and Highway 112. Both of these have been through Traffic Committee for several years now.
Yeah, a lot of complaints.
Let me just go ahead and ask, so you said they're expensive. Are they less expensive than forming and making your own speed bumps?
They're a lot easier to remove if there are objections later.
Yeah, I got you.
So I didn't understand what you're saying, Mayor, on the tables, that they have something special
Powell
for the
Street.
fire trucks?
Hey, Jeff, they've got brakes in them that match the wheel,
With
wheel
the
width.
fires.
Fire trucks, so that they can, if they can hit them, they can go in between and not have to hit the bump.
Okay.
I don't know, would that, surely the wheelbase on a ambulance is different than a fire truck? A little. Okay. Okay. So it won't slow a motorcycle down, is what we're saying.
Mayor, I'd like to say something. I'd like to thank the police chief, the entire police department, and the retired police officers in Springdale for their fantastic turnout in the memorial for former police chief Truman Brewer. The family really appreciated the mass outpouring of sympathy and support, and just want to thank the police chief and the police department.
Thanks for bringing that up, Mike. Thanks. Any other council? City attorney?
No, sir.
All I've got is just to remind the folks who may be watching this, I think all of you all know, administration's in the middle of a move this week. We start tomorrow. CID has pretty well moved. They're in their third floor space. Much of the police department is getting in there this week. Court and part of the city attorney will be soon to follow. And appreciate Colby's leadership in that. Greg Bowden has been excellent in helping coordinate that, and his guys. And also IT is they got a lot on them right now. So we'll soldier on and get through it. And but it's we're anxious to see folks in that phase one. And we'll be in our temporary spot, hopefully for not much more than a year. Yeah. Yes, after the Beaver Water District tour, if y'all haven't responded to that yet, we've got that scheduled for a Friday morning at the Water District. I think that'll be very interesting and good information. And then we'll come back here for lunch, and then we'll do a tour. I guess PD maybe, or somebody can take us on a tour of the new facility. Y'all will be in it pretty well by then. So.
Say that was this Friday?
No, it's not this Friday. I think it's, the 30th. Yeah. Right. And if you missed something on that, or just let Anna know that you're coming, and she can give you or resend the invitation. All right.
So move.